Okay,
All right.
guys hear me?
I can see you. I can hear you.
Okay, yeah, so my laptop for some reason isn't happy with this arrangement. So I am just gonna leave my laptop to it and do this off my phone.
Sure.
Um, if that's okay.
Sure.
Is that allowed?
Oh, whatever. We'll make it work however we have to.
Certainly. I'm
Yeah,
sure that's great.
worker. I didn't see this coming. I have no idea why it's freaking out over this. So I'm just gonna find something to prop my phone up, and then we'll be good to go. But yeah, thanks to everyone who's already hopped in and just been patiently waiting. I appreciate that. Sorry for the slightly slow start to this. I guess it gives a bit of time for new people to arrive, just like then. And God damn it, I wasn't ready for this. Is there a way I can expand my view? Okay, I'm gonna kind of stick around for an hour. I've got a load of stuff to share with you, and so we'll just jump straight into it. The first thing I wanted to share is this, and of course, can't entirely leap into full performance mode in this medium. So these demonstrations will be predominantly just that, demonstrations. No sort of other excitement other than that. But I'm going to look away. I'll imagine that someone calls out stop. So hopefully you can see this card. And then what I do is I say, remember it, and we'll leave it somewhere back inside. At this point, I would immediately hand the deck to the spectator. I'd say shuffle them up as much as you want. So let's say they shuffle those. And then I would get the pack back. I would maybe, throw in my own shuffle like so, shuffle them up, and that should be the card on top. I think. Is that right? Is anyone here?
Yes, it's good. It's good.
Okay, cool. So, so this is a couple of things. Obviously, overall, it's just a very kind of fair and clean and pooling way to have a card sort of selected and lost back into the pack. Yet you're able to still regain control over that card. So, how exactly does that work? Well, firstly, this is a stripper deck. Okay, so to me, this is one of the most valuable tools in card magic, and much like many things that are kind of considered part of the umbrella of beginner methodology, it's something that kind of just falls to the wayside a little bit. We almost forget about the power that this thing kind of harbors. So this is one of my favorite tools, just a stripper deck, because it just allows you to perform incredible lost and found material. And so obviously when you're using a stripper deck, the fundamental thing is that you need to have all the cards oriented one way and then have the selection 180'd, so that when it's amongst the rest of the cards, because of the nature of the stripper deck, you can just strip it out, right? So for a long time, it really kind of tickled my interest to experiment and discover ways of kind of surreptitiously reversing or 180ing the selection. And so there's kind of an infinite number of these things. And what I just demonstrated is one of them. So again, to run through it, it looks like this. They call out stop at any moment. You display the card out. You would be looking away at this point, and then you just turn the pack face up. You say, once again, remember this card. We'll leave it inside. You can push it in, and so it's set. All the cards are one way except for their selection, and so it's a very kind of nice, fluid procedure. They just call out stop, have a look at that, remember it, chuck it in, you push it in, you take the pack, you shuffle. So obviously now compounded with you looking away, the kind of conditions that surround this procedure are incredibly fair. And yet when you get the pack back, obviously you're just going to pick up on that tapered card to bring it back under your control. And so what I tend to do is, if it's just kind of position it roughly near the center. That will sometimes involve cutting a small packet of cards to reposition it, and then I'll just pick up on the selection, give the pack a faro. That brings it to the bottom, and I might need it on the bottom, or I will shuffle it up to the top, right? Whatever, however it fits in the context of the trick. So that's how it looks. It's this: you show the card, you say, let's place it in, you go ahead, push it in as well. And the mechanics on this, again, also this is applicable if you've got, just a one-way back design, right? If you're using one-way cards, that's also, something you could factor this move into. So the way it works is they call up stop. You display the cards, and I've kind of got my thumb and middle finger sort of roughly near the center of this packet. And now, in a kind of Stuart Gordon-esque way, I'm going to actually run my thumb down the packet, right? As if I was, we all know the Stuart Gordon turnover, right? So it's this, but I'm essentially doing it with a whole packet. So I'm showing the packet. That keeps my thumb on the face of the selection, and from the back, I'm going to kind of curl in my finger so that my nail is in contact with the back of the card, because there's no friction on my nail. And so that means when I kind of add in this sort of tossing motion to the side, it means that they can all spin around except for the face card, because that's in contact with the pad of my thumb. And so you display it one more time, say, remember the card, tip all these on top, you reach out, you push it in, you take the pack, and you're still looking away, and then they shuffle, you look back, you get it back, and you'll be able to locate that card. So again, they call out stop. If you're doing it from a dribble, you just kind of shimmy your fingers into position. All right, so they call out stop, say, check it out, remember this one. Are you happy with it? Yeah, remember that. So all I'm doing there is just, hopefully you can kind of gauge this, turning around the packet, nail is now engaged on the back, thumb is on the front, and I'm going to kind of toss it forward, so they should all spin around, except for this card. Okay, so all these other cards have been 180'd except for this card, and it means when you then square everything back up, it's I did that twice, so that didn't actually work. Display it, if that goes in, and then you're good to retrieve it. So yeah, it's just the first thing I wanted to share tonight. They're all kind of like this. It's just a random assortment of little tools, things that I genuinely, implement when I perform. One of which is a stripper deck. I get a ton of use out of this, and of course, because the function of this deck is to allow a 180 card to stand out, you therefore want a range of ways in which you can secretly 180 cards, so that that method in itself is kind of disguised. If you're constantly using the same procedure to 180 the card, it could eventually become telling. So you need a nice range of them, and this is, as my first offering in this lecture, the first one. So you look away, they call out stop, you say, remember this card, let's just toss it in, shuffle it in. You can shuffle if you want. I'll look back for the first time, I'll give them an extra shuffle so it's thoroughly lost inside, and I'm now ahead of the game. So yeah, it doesn't really have a particular name. I just call it a 180 move, and there's loads of them, right? It's a cool kind of area to just play with, right? There's so many ways you can discover. Obviously, one of the sort of page one approaches to this is to have a card selected, right? Well, imagine that's in their hands. While they're looking at it, you can pull up one sleeve, then you can pull up a second, and in that action, you've 180'd the pack. So then you can just spread them out, say put it anywhere you like. That's really effective way of doing it. Also, you can have them select a card while they're looking at it. You can casually riffle the pack and watch carefully. You see, as I now square up, I've 180'd it. Okay, so in preparation for the shuffle, the deck is kind of turned 90 degrees, and then after the waterfall, we then continue another 90 degrees, completing 180, and so that allows the selection to then stand out. And so yeah, there's just loads of these things, and it's something I've had a lot of fun playing with, and maybe you will as well. Maybe you won't. But, you know, that's the whole point of this. I'm just going to serve a load of stuff up, and you know, the old adage: if you get one thing out of this hour, then it will have been worth your time. So, hopefully, there's one of you that enjoyed that. If not, I've still got 40 minutes, 45 minutes, whatever it is, to try and make this worthy of your time. So, that's the first thing. Now, just before I move on, is there any questions? Does anyone want to chime in? Does anyone have their own version they want to share? I'll just give it 10 seconds. If there's anything that anyone wants to raise here, then now's a good time. Otherwise, we shall proceed. Okay, we'll proceed. So the next thing I want to share with you is this. So let me shuffle them up. In fact, I need someone to call out stop in a moment. So could I have one of you unmute yourselves? Anyone?
I
just need.
I'm driving down the road, but I'll.
Oh, okay, please drive carefully. But listen, I'm going to just shuffle up the cards. Anytime you like, you can just call out stop.
You hear me? Stop.
Oh, I didn't hear you, but okay, fine. So this is where we stop. So I would look away and I'd say, look at this card. And I know it's the 6 of spades. Okay, so this is a little force. So this is what I call shuffle force. You can mute yourself again and focus on the road. This is just a little force that I use. Obviously, in this manner, the whole thing got elongated. They would normally stop around 10 to a quarter of the way into the deck. So I think we went almost halfway, and it wouldn't ordinarily go that far, which is also methodologically not ideal. It makes the move a little less cleaner than it should be. So apologies if it didn't look very good. But let me explain the gist of what's going on here. I peek the bottom card. I shuffle it to the top. Whoops. And then what I do is I say to someone, I'm just going to shuffle the cards and just call out stop at any point. Okay, so I'll go through, stop me anytime. Okay, and normally it'd be about there. However, I'm going to ensure that it's the force card, because just before I prepare for that shuffle, I grip the cards like this, and the top card, which is our kind of peaked memorized card, I just side jog it. Okay, so I've created a little gap here. All right, and so this is almost like a shuffling second deal. All right, so because of this gap, I can now just shuffle cards from beneath the force card. Okay, and obviously angled correctly with your hands kind of parallel to the audience's eye line. This is best on a one-on-one. They're not going to see that. Coupled with the fact that you're just kind of nonchalantly saying, I'm going to go through the cards, call out stop, there's no kind of heat on this moment, right? To all intents and purposes, from their perspective, you're just shuffling the cards, right? So I'm in this position, I go through the cards, and you can be quite casual with this, right? It's very easy to do. You say, just call out stop for me. And now all you're doing is very simply just timing, their request to stop with the action of peeling the card down. And you can, because you're just watching them, you can kind of feel, engage, and sort of preempt when it is that they're going to stop you. So of course you time your actions simultaneous to to their speech. So, I'm going to go through the cards, just call out stop. Oh, sorry. Call out stop right now. Okay. So look, I'll look away. You have a look at this one. I'll just shuffle the rest back on top. In fact, you shuffle everything for me. And so the whole selection procedure just feels very kind of casual, kind of messy, but sort of uncontrived, uncontrolled. The fact that you can immediately follow up by saying, you take the cards. You'll sort of notice a theme here. It's exactly what happened with the previous thing with the 180. I really like conditions where you're sort of looking away, and you can sort of directly, immediately hand the cards out to them to be shuffled. I really think these are sort of important layers that create a sort of solid foundation for you to build the rest of your effect on, because if the audience truly believe that you don't know what the card is or where it is, then inevitably when you do bring it back into view, it's going to be impactful because it kind of is completely opposed to the conditions that you've preset. So where were we? Yeah, that's the shuffle force. Very simple idea. You just have the cards like this, nudge this one up, pull off the card beneath. That's kind of hidden from the right angle. As you're saying, just call out stop at any moment. Right now, great. You can have a look at that card, lose it in, you shuffle it in, and we're a step ahead. So yeah, that's something I have a lot of fun with as well. Again, I'm just going to leave a little moment here if anyone wants to chime in or ask a question or tell a joke or whatever. If not,
I'm not
I
driving
presume...
anymore. I made it home safe.
Oh, that's good to know. Thank you
Yes.
for
And
updating us.
I love that. That looks great. It looks like an optical shuffle almost. Like that's dope. I love that.
Oh, thanks so much. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
I'm wondering if you can
thanks for
see the
being
text
here as well.
chat.
I'll say again.
I was wondering if you can see the text chat. People have been saying things in there. So.
Oh no, I've got like honestly, this is for me, like me the kind of smallest lecture I've ever done, because I'm just looking at myself in the size of like a matchbox. That's my only sort of sense of this. It's like a little micro lecture. I don't really know how many people are here or what people are saying.
Okay, someone asked if you made your own tapered decks.
Oh, I know you can, but I'm a bit lazy. I've always just purchased them from dealers. But there is someone here will be able to help me out here. There's a guy that does a phenomenal job with kind of manufacturing and selling the specific tools that you need to make stripper decks, and a whole range of other kind of specialized gaffs and gimmicks. Yeah, if anyone in the chat knows who I'm talking about, I can't remember. I'll comment it in the group at some point. But yeah, if anyone's interested, just on the note of stripper decks and making your own, you can do this, but you need, I believe, kind of specialized tools. And there's a guy that sells said tools as well as others for other forms of gaffing decks. But yeah, thanks. Again, I don't really know how many people are here or what people are saying, but the fact that anyone is here and saying stuff is really cool. So thank you. I'm going to just push on into the next stuff. So the next thing I wanted to share with you, what did we just do? Oh, we did the shuffle for, yeah, okay. So let's try, this is a nice little thing. I'll do a trick after this. Let's just do one more kind of tool and then we'll get into a trick. So in this one, you just say to someone, touch any card. So they've been thoroughly shuffled. Let's say it's this one. Obviously, I'm going to see this because of the... Actually, I'll look away, but remember this. Okay. And I say, we'll take this packet and we'll just toss it inside the middle of this packet. Okay. So you've got a card in the middle and we've tossed it somewhere in the middle of there. I tell you, you go ahead, you take the pack, you shuffle. Okay. So cards are shuffled again. Eventually you get them back. And you're now ready to spread through and remove the card? Can someone let me know? I believe that was the correct card. This relies on a key
Correct.
card because I'm kind of. Was that right? Hopefully. Anyway, yeah, my attention is a bit split because of the nature of this, but I wasn't sure if I memorized the key card properly. But this is a key card. So what you're going to do is know the identity of the top card. Okay, so 9 of clubs. I know what this is. I've maybe peeked it on the bottom, shuffled it to the top, or just peeked the top card, whatever. And you're then gonna just invite someone to touch a card. Say it's this one. You say, go ahead, remember this. You say, we'll lose these cards inside the middle of here. So then we lift over, we kind of put like a tent, lift them half up. We take these, and it looks like we toss them all in. But actually what we're going to do is that age-old kind of production maneuver where actually you're gripping the top and the bottom cards. And so when you toss them, they come together, right? All the cards in between just kind of fly out, except for the top and the bottom cards, which coalesce. And so what happens is, you say, remember the card, we'll toss this pack inside the middle of here, but really you're tossing everything except the key card and the selection, which remain together. Then, kind of choreographically as an afterthought, obviously you're still holding 2 cards, so we'll toss these on top as well. So there's 2 kind of tosses in quick succession. There's the bulk of the deck and then just the remaining cards. And of course, in doing that, the outward appearance for our audience is that they've touched any card, you've just tossed them all in the middle, and then they get to shuffle, right? So kind of nice set of strong conditions that pretty much convince the audience you don't know what it is or where it is. But really, the majority of the time, we're going to be able to relocate that card because we're just looking for our key card, okay? The card that will be, when we look through the pack, above or behind that selection. So again, we know what the top card is. They touch any card, we can look away, say take a look. We then lift them up, take this block, we toss it in, the 2 remaining cards we toss on top, we close, we let them shuffle, and we just kind of slightly cross our fingers and hope that the key card and the selection don't get disturbed. The majority, I think a lot of you are in America, and I believe riffle shuffling is much more kind of prevalent there. In the UK, most people aren't very good at shuffling. They'll just do like a very basic overhand shuffle, worse than that. So, the chances of the relationship between the key card and the selection being disturbed is very low. But of course, yeah, it's relative to how commonplace, I suppose, riffle shuffling is wherever you live, because that's the shuffle you don't want them to do, because that's going to kind of heighten the odds that you'll lose the key card.
I've also found in America that if you just mime the overhand shuffle and you tell people to shuffle, that's what they'll do. So you can kind of influence people in that regard.
Yeah, dude, that's I can't see any names or anything here, but thank you so much for chiming in. Yeah, that's such a good point. Is our audience will kind of mimic the gestures that we do. So this idea of saying, go ahead, just shuffle the cards, we're visually cueing them to shuffle via an overhand. So yeah, great point. And of course, really pertinent to this because it minimizes the risk of losing the key card from the selection. So thank you. I was going to say that, but you just beat me to it. I wasn't really. Thank you. Yeah, so that's just a little kind of rework. Is it rework? Modern approach to the key card, because the classic page 1 thing is remember the bottom card, have the card put on top, cut the deck, and obviously it works. But again, a bit like with the the 180 of a card, I really enjoy looking for additional ways of approaching it, so that you're not just having to use the same version. And also, when you explore these, you not only find that there's so many alternate ways of approaching these objectives, but also there's so many ways of doing it far more deceptively, far more naturally than just cutting a pack. You know, this idea of have a look at that, let's just toss it in. It's so, it reminds me of almost like Danny de Ortiz, you know, it's so, which is a style I love, that very kind of, that Spanish thing, that sort of not really trying to look like you're manipulating cards. It's all just very kind of a bit haphazard, a little bit chaotic, a little unfinessed, right? Because that way, the way in which you handle cards and your whole attitude around it is kind of carefree, and there's a sort of degree of not really trying, right? There's a beautiful effortlessness there, that I think, yeah, these kind of actions, or that attitude is imbued into these actions. I just think it makes Magic a bit stronger. I lost the thread of that point. Sorry, I shouldn't have gone down that road. I've got a bit distracted. It's quite late here. I've had a really long day, so I'm not I'm not on 100% right now. Anyway, that was I call that trapdoor. That does have a name, because it's like a little trapdoor that you open up, and it's just one of my go-to approaches for employing a key card. I think, you know, it's such an overlooked form of methodology. There's so many great ways to bring a key card into play. And yeah, I think it's just a very overlooked area. In fact, on that note, I'll share one more key card, maybe two more key card methods with you. Again, as far as I'm aware, these are both mine. These are things that I use pretty frequently. So the first one, I just need to tilt it down so you can get a little view of my surface here. Can you? Bit out of shot. I might not. Okay, I'm gonna have to awkwardly do this one-handed because I'm gonna hold the camera in one hand. But yeah. So like this. So you line out the cards and you say, "Tell you what, I'm just gonna go down the pack, call out stop right here." So imagine they stop there. So we'll just push that to the side. So look, this is where you said stop. Have a look at that. Okay. So they look at their card. If they go ahead, put it straight back. We'll put the rest on top. We'll square everything up and you shuffle. Now, this is the most awkward I've ever done it because I'm having to hold my phone with one hand. So I'm losing a hand right now. Normally just, you know, operate it with two hands. But essentially, you can piece this together. You've got the top card that you memorize. You line them out, ribbon spread them. You say, I'm just going to run my finger down the pack. In fact, I tell you what, I'll run a card down, call out stop. Right here. Okay, so I'll split the pack right there. So go ahead, have a look at the card that you stopped on. So you break the cards where they said stop, and you just put the key card in the position while they're looking at the card. You say, just replace it back where you got it, chuck these on top, shuffle everything, and you're good to go. So again, it's just another kind of nice, you know, covert way of implementing that key card. One more key card thing, and then we'll move on. So this one is called they call it Banger, I believe, because I was in Ireland. There's a place called Banger. I just named it after that trip, but it looks like this. You shuffle the cards, and you say, "Cool, say stop for me." Right here. So I'm going to display this card to you. Okay, we'll square it back in. You can take the cards. You can shuffle. And at this moment, I know the card next to it is the King of Hearts. So again, they would shuffle, I'd get the pack back, and I'll talk about a couple of presentations actually for revealing these cards, because I haven't actually touched on that. I've just said here's how to locate it with no other presentational touches. So I'll mention a couple in a moment, but the way that this works, they call out stop. I'll just demo it one more time. So say stop right here. So you got it? Okay. So whilst they've been looking at it, I was looking at the card next to it, which is the 9 of clubs, and that will allow me to find it. So the way that works is you riffle down, you pick up where they call that stop, you sort of drag it to the side here, and you display it to them. So you don't drag it to the side. Ignore me. You just create like an L shape. Okay, so I'm in this kind of position. So I'm showing them their card. Say stop. have a look at it. Great. Now, while they're looking at it, my ring finger is going to curl around the pack, okay, like this, and it's going to push towards the base of my thumb. So when I do that, you can just see here that it's been ever so slightly side jogged, just enough so that the indice is visible. All right. And so what happens is, while they're looking at that card, I push that to the side, and that means from the performer's view, right? This kind of, if I had an over-the-shoulder shot right now, you would see that I can just about make out this card. If you can't see it enough, you just have to, push a bit more until you do. So it's fully under your control. You call up stop, you display it, the selection, you push that one. Okay, I'm kind of exaggerating this for the explanation, but I can now just very clearly see the indice of this card, and that will of course be my key card. So say go ahead, call out stop, remember this one, I'm looking at the 8 of clubs, and I just let everything square up and I hand it to them. So again, it's another key card procedure, but I just love the fluidity of this, and the ease of it, and the cheekiness of it. And I don't know, it's one of those moves that, well, can you even call it a move? I'm not sure. It's sort of too simple to be a move, but yeah, it's a feel good thing. I really like it. So have a look. I can now see king of clubs. So when I square it up, I let them quickly shuffle, like our friend suggested. You just say, give them a quick shuffle. They'll do an overhand, and then 9 times out of 10 you'll be able to look for the key card, and it will be next to it. So there's a few key card method suggestions. Let's now talk about a couple of ways in which you can go about revealing the selection. So something that I like to do is I will spread out the pack. Okay, so forgive me my kind of lack of production, high production qualities here. This is I was meant to be on my laptop. For anyone that's joined late, my laptop wasn't very happy with the situation, so I had to switch to my phone, and it's been a little bit of drama that I've had to try and work with here, but hopefully it's all going okay. So anyway, you spread out the pack. Okay, so you can just, I can't unfortunately get this all in one shot. It doesn't matter, I'll just explain. So the cards are face up, they're looking at it. Something that I'll sometimes do is I'll say, I'm going to look at you, okay, but I'm going to get you to do a few, to follow a few instructions. So meanwhile, while I spread the pack, I've kind of found the key card and identified their selection. So I already know what their card is. I then say, I'm going to keep looking at you, but what I want you to do is to very quickly just look down at any card that isn't your card, but is the same color. Go, have a look now, and then back at me. Cool. And then I'll just say, okay, so it was somewhere around here, or relative to wherever they look. I say, great. Now look at any card that's the same suit. Okay, perfect. Now any card that's the same value. Okay, if I've remembered this correctly, you looked at a color down here, then a suit down there, and a value there. So that's going to be red or black. Obviously, I think it would probably be more. There's a cluster of red cards here, so I think it's a red card. Then it was over here, so it's probably a diamond, and then we're looking at either the ace or the 8. Probably the 8 of diamonds. There we go, the 8 of diamonds. So what is that? Well, it's essentially just like a pseudo read of their eyes, right? You're just getting them to look at the pack at a few attributes that collectively form their playing card, and then in some kind of Rayman type style, your eidetic memory kind of thing, you're sort of feigning this idea that you can precisely, from looking at them, figure out where their eyes went and therefore piece together the card. And I don't know exactly in this kind of framework how that sounds. But what I can tell you is that it plays very well. And the reasons I think it plays very well, firstly, you get their card, right? And the conditions that you've set leading up to that moment have been pretty impossible. So they're already kind of surprised that you've known their card. But secondly, it's very interactive. You're getting them to look at parts of the pack. They're following instructions. It's kind of exciting for them. You've got them kind of, riled up. And then there's this kind of pseudo thing where, there's this sort of red herring. There's this kind of plausibility that perhaps you are following their eyes, but it's still a bit far-fetched. But then there's seemingly no other method, so maybe he did do it. And so it kind of positions the audience in this interesting headspace. And yeah, like I say, they're participating. There's a nice kind of pace to it, and so I just feel like it's a really nice reveal. But I appreciate just telling you it. Maybe it's not gonna kind of land that well, but it's one of those things that I would urge you to just try out sometime. Just try it out as a reveal, and I think you'll enjoy it. It's easy as magicians. There's probably been many discussions about this within the server, that particularly when you've been in Magic for a long time, you can kind of overthink things, overanalyze, and sometimes overlook how often there is beauty in simplicity, right? You can just simplify your repertoire, and that's not to make, to dumb it down or to distill it of any kind of value, but often for laymen who have rarely been kind of exposed to Magic before, it's entirely brand new for them, and we can often get away with not trying as hard, right? Sometimes what we think is clever and brilliant is sometimes just very far removed from what actually is entertaining to them. And I think sometimes there's a kind of conceited effort to please ourselves, to satisfy ourselves, when really we can actually simplify things and it will be very effective for them. It's a hard lesson to remind ourselves of, because we get kind of enthusiastic to learn the next thing and the harder thing and the better thing and whatever. We can sort of climb this ladder that takes us just far away from actually what is fine, and so I don't quite know where that anecdote came from, but what I was really trying to just sum up there is, I appreciate, as a reveal, this presentation sounds a bit basic, but it just works, right? And that's I don't know, there's a lesson in there somewhere. so other ways of revealing cards in this situation, what I'll sometimes do is just fan the pack, find the key card, find out what their card is, so I now know it, right? Then I'll say, I want you to name any card that is not your card, right? Something completely different. Just name any card. And so they name a card. And similar to the eyes premise, whatever card they name, I now basically kind of reverse engineer a pseudo logic for arriving at their selection. And this often works very well because I sneak in that line, just something that's completely different. And that's a key line. So I say, you're thinking of any card, I want you to just name any card that's different, right? Something completely different. Just name any card. So they're pretty much, 90% of the time going to name the opposite. So if they're thinking of a 5 of hearts, it could be a Queen of Spades, or a Queen of Spades, a 6 of diamonds, or whatever, right? There's usually some opposites that come into play, and that really helps to sell this story that you're figuring out the card because of these kind of antithetical, no, what's the word? These contrasting qualities. So I've got videos of this on my YouTube channel and various places.
Isn't that's kind of like the trick that can't be explained, but as a reveal instead of the trick, right? I mean that's great.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. So, it's, in a way, it's like, it's kind of jazzing because you don't know what card they're going to name. You just riff with it. Sometimes they'll actually name a card that is similar, And what I'll do, to kind of counter attack it, I'll say, okay, this is interesting. Normally, when I ask this question, people name a card that's the complete opposite. So, they'll name a red card. Therefore, that kind of clues in the idea that their card is actually black. They're trying to get me off on the wrong scent. They're trying to get me on the wrong path. So I know it would be that color and vice versa. But with you, there was a kind of, you had your arms folded. There was a defensiveness. I think you're trying to kind of double bluff me here. You've also named a red card, but I think you've done that thinking I would think it's there for a black card, but it hasn't, because you tried to double bluff me. It's still a red card, and I don't think you've similarly, rather than name a picture card, which would be the opposite, you've kept it a number. You've done this very different to most people, and that's a sign of a high IQ. Whatever, just riffing. So I think in your case, this doesn't happen very often, but I think you've made it very similar, thinking that I wouldn't believe it would be similar, but I've outsmarted you, right? You tried to do it to me, I've got you back. It's that, so whatever. The more you do it, again, like the trick that can't be explained, you develop through experience of performing this. The repetition drills in a kind of armory of responses. So whatever happens, whatever they say, you're just kind of, you've got the line on the tip of your tongue, just that knee-jerk response to just fire back and keep the action rolling towards the desired outcome of identifying their card. So it's a cool one, and there's only really one way to get good at that, which is to just do it, and I think in the process of that as well, it kind of makes you a slightly more robust performer, right? It kind of makes you presentationally a bit more well-rounded, because you're learning to ad-lib and to improvise and to kind of become comfortable with the uncomfortable, of not really knowing what they're going to say and how you're going to deal with it. But the more that you do that and you kind of get that experience and confidence under your belt, the more that you can then you can lean into jazzing, you can lean into the trick that can't be explained. The more that the more you know that you can just keep going until you get it right. That you become quite like I said, robust. You just develop this knowledge that whatever's thrown at you, you can handle it. And tricks like this, kind of, it sounds small, but they do go some way to strengthening that sort of responsive muscle. So anyway, there's another tangent. Where did we actually get to? So, oh yeah, just ways of revealing cards after a key card. So yeah, I do the eyes thing. I do the name any other card that's different. Both of which allow you kind of set the stage for this pseudo logic. What else do I do? I have so many, and I've just gone blank. So yeah, I've gone blank. We'll move on to the next item. If there's any questions, now's a good time to throw them into the chat. I do see a little message icon, so
I just hopped out of the shower. I have a question. I was listening in the shower now after I got home from work. So, my question
I think you're the first person to attend one of my lectures in the shower. So
Oh, yeah.
well done. You've won the award.
My question was, what do you, as Ollie Mealy, what do you do when you mess up the key card? Say somebody shuffles it out, and you're like, you go through your whole reveal, and you're like, boom, is this your card? And then they're like, no. Like, what do you do to recover? Because I know I failed at magic tricks, and I feel like crap. I mean, it's like losing a baseball game or something like that. It's like that feeling of like I failed you. And like, how do you react? I was just kind of wondering. Because I know you've had it happen where they shuffled off the key, right? I mean, that statistically.
Yeah. I mean, it's sort of is something that has to happen in order for you to then even realize I need like a solution for this. It's like it's inevitable that we experience it, because that experience teaches us. Like all of our experiences, they refine our approach, and they educate what we need to be doing. So so basically there's a couple of ways to respond to that. Firstly, if it kind of suits your character, and it's not the first trick that you've done, then it's okay, to just confess it went wrong. I'm sorry. I'm human. Doesn't always go right. Let's move on. Like you can
Yeah.
be kind of self-deprecating and just have a laugh about it.
That's
And
usually it was like, oh, I'm terrible. But let me show you another one. I just don't know. Like, I didn't know if you had like an anecdote that you're like, or whatever, a go-to.
I don't know. I don't really have like a set line for that. I guess I would just kind of say what felt right in the moment. But yeah, it depends on your performance style of things. For me, like it's pretty casual, and so if something went wrong, I would just find it funny, and therefore, I think the audience would. Like if the more awkward you are about it, the more awkward they're going to feel about it. Like if you just make it into a joke, I think you can just get away with it. So that's like the first approach is you kind of accept defeat, right? The second thing is to have like emergency outs. So what I mean by that is if you have a card in the box, or you have a card in your shoe, or you have a card in your pocket or your wallet, or up your sleeve. If you have kind of cards secretly in other places, then the reason you got the card wrong is because it's not in the pack. What? Your card was the five of hearts. I was never going to get the five of hearts because the thing is, I go through, I color out, I hide it, I spread out the cards. It's not in the pack because the whole time I've had one card in my pocket or in the box or in my shoe or up my sleeve, wherever it may be, and that is the five of hearts. So what you do is you basically flip the effect. It becomes a sucker trick. They think that you screwed up, and you did, but you reframe it in such a way that he didn't really mess it up. He actually went one better and made the card transposed to some impossible position. So thinking about emergency outs is really good. And the other thing is if you know what those cards are, then in turn that also sets you up for kind of prediction effects. If someone chooses a card that matches that, you can kind of, in a sort of jazzing manner, quickly reframe the situation. I knew that you would choose a red 6, and that's why I also removed a red 6 earlier today, and I've been keeping it secret the whole time. All right. Where do magicians keep our secrets? Famously. That's right. Up our sleeves. Look, inside my sleeve is the other red 6. Thank you. So similarly, if you've got it in your shoe, earlier on I thought we would meet, and I thought you would choose that black king, and in fact, I weirdly had a kind of premonition that you would, and I thought I better take this card out, and I better keep it with me, And I nearly changed my mind, and I thought, no, I'm gonna stand with this decision. I'm gonna stay standing on it. I've been standing on it the whole time. It's in my shoe. So, wherever you have this card position, you can just kind of tweak your patter so that you can segue kind of full circle to show that it matches. And again, as the kind of general theme of this lecture, which is very sort of spontaneous, and I don't have as you can probably tell, I'm slightly freestyling this a bit, but yeah, this whole thing is a bit of a deviation from where we were originally at. But essentially, if the key card, if you miscall the selection, you either fess up and say, oh well, it's a card trick, right? Take a chill pill, make a joke out of it. Or you can kind of use an emergency out. You can say, well, I couldn't find it because it was actually, there was one card here and there it is, and by which time you culled it, you do a double lift or a top change or whatever. And then consequently, if you've got emergency outs and you know what they are, that also sets you up for miracle hits. If they happen to choose a matching card, you can play that off as a reveal. I also have one. I haven't used this for a while actually, but I used to wear the shirts a lot, like button-up shirts. So what I would do under my shirt, I'd be wearing a t-shirt. I'd stick to my t-shirt a card. It would be one of my emergency outs or a matching mate, and it would be sellotape, like gaffer tape, to the shirt. And if I had to revert to this card, I would say something along the lines of, I had a feeling we would meet and I thought you might choose this card. And there was one moment where I nearly changed my mind and I thought, no, I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to stick with this choice. And I've been stuck to it ever since. I really have. Look, and then I unbutton. It's one card stuck. Bam, it matches. Yeah, so anyway, sorry, a very long-winded response to this question. I won't let this eat into time for the other stuff. We're still gonna, this will just run over. But yeah, it's you either say it's gone wrong or you have an emergency out. Pretty much how I would play it, but ideally you would kind of manage the situation, like our friend earlier said. You just kind of encourage them to not use a riffle shuffle or a faro shuffle. Don't know what layman could faro shuffle, but you try and just kind of attitudinally encourage them to just do a quick overhand. Just say, go ahead, just give them a quick mix and then chuck them down. Right? You almost act like it doesn't really matter. Let's just get this out of the way. Just give them a quick mix, chuck them down. Great. As opposed to, go ahead, shuffle them up, and then if you kind of pause and you're watching them, they're going to feel that this action is almost kind of emphasized. They've really got to shuffle. So I think you can use your kind of language and your tone to encourage speeding up the process. Just give them a quick mix. That's fine. Then chuck them down. There's a sort of a kind of tonal significance that you give stuff. If you say it seriously, go ahead, shuffle the cards, then there's a sense of, I really got to shuffle the cards. If you kind of soften that, just mix them up, chuck them down. It's kind of carefree, and so consequently, I think they'll just give a small shuffle. These are all things that if you go out and perform, you'll sort of sense that they're kind of just like social things, I suppose, that you just feel when you're performing. Anyway, where did we get to? Yeah, key cards, emergency outs, predictions. Oh, in fact, actually, again, I wasn't planning on going here in the lecture, but I took my keys out of my back pocket. This sounds like the start of a trick. It's not. Well, it kind of is actually. I took my keys out of my back pocket before I sat down because it'd be uncomfortable. And talking of like emergency outs and how do you get there, I actually have on my keys, for any Zelda fans, I got Link on my keys, but on my keys I've got a couple of key rings. So let's just say I've got my keys like on the table, right? And it's very natural that when we sit down, if we're in a kind of cafe or a bar, we might have our cards out, we might have our phone out, maybe our keys out, just like general pocket wear sometimes comes out onto the table. And, it just kind of sits there unsuspiciously, right? Kind of just blends in. And so it's really interesting to think about those items that kind of are hidden in plain sight. If you're having a coffee with someone, no one's going to think that the coffee mug is method, right? So therefore, it's actually the perfect place to hide method because no one's looking out for it. You could have a crib on the inside of the mug, or your beer glass or a pack of crisps or whatever it may be. Things that are just naturally on the table anyway become hidden in plain sight. And so, running with that kind of idea, I thought about my keys. What could I maybe have on my keys that, if needs be, I can call upon as part of an effect? And so there is a point to this. It ties in with this emergency out thing. What I have on my keyring is, on my keys is a keyring that says, whoop, slightly killed it there. Hopefully you can see that. If lost, return to the box. Okay, and that then gives me the instruction to go to the box and reveal the card, either as an emergency out or just as a revelation within itself. So the way that I would kind of frame that in the effect, just to circle back to this emergency out thing, I miscall the card and it was the Jack of Hearts. No, that's so embarrassing. Well, what was it then? Two of diamonds. I was way off. Well, it was still red. Must get some points for that. Okay, let me see if I can. This is so bad. So I've now culled the two of diamonds. So I've got that here on top. Then I would go through some kind of, display procedure where we can recognize it's not there. And I would then say, well, this leaves us with a question. Where is it? And the key to answering that question has been under our nose the entire time. And now I direct their attention down to my key because of obviously the mirroring language and the physical prop. So if you look at my keys, there is a key ring. Can you see that? It says, if lost, return to, turn it around, the box. Inside the box is one card, and I'll be holding the pack. I'd do a double lift, which is slightly unclean, but it's ultimately better than, losing the effect. So yeah, that's just an extra bit of food for thought, is having something either on the back of your phone. It can be part of your design, or on your watch, or on your keys, or whatever, right? You can have an emergency out kind of built into something that you carry on your person anyway, for those odd occasions where you might need to call upon it. And if you do, there's also that kind of sense that actually you were glad that it did, because it's quite novel. It's quite fun. It's almost worth doing on purpose. Yeah, so that kind of concludes this unexpected segment. But for anyone that was wondering, you can literally just go to a key cutters. You can get these made for a few quid, and obviously you can customize that however you want. It doesn't have to say the box. It can say anything you want it to that suits your preferences. Right then, if anyone wants to chime in at this moment, then just jump ahead. If not, I will move on. Okay, let me just check how I'm doing. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna do a quick trick. But in this kind of medium and with this tiny little frame that I'm working in, I feel like it's doing it a little bit of a disservice. So just mentally, whatever I do next, just sugarcoat it a little bit. Right? Just imagine it actually in situ. All right. So what I do is I shuffle up the cards. And so this is a trick that uses 2 cards. Okay. So I tell you, would you help me out? Just call out a stop right here. If you remember this one for me, okay, and if you remember this one, all right. And just so both of you don't forget those cards, say them in your mind a few times. Okay, not out loud. Don't tell me, right? I'm not allowed to know what they are. Just in your own heads, just say them, again and again. 9 of clubs, 6 of hearts, whatever they are. You just say them to yourself, not out loud. I can't know, but just to yourself. So the first card, look, I'm going to reach in. I'm going to invisibly pull it out, turn it over, and just square it back inside. So if I've really done this, there should be 1 card reversed. 10 of clubs. I think I said 9 of clubs. Yeah, but normally that'd be correct. Was that your card? Yeah, great. Okay, put your hand out for me. So that's the first one. That goes on their hand. That's down there on their hand. The second card, take it out. I'm going to turn it around. In fact, we'll do the same thing. In fact, we'll do it differently. We'll throw it. It flies, and it lands down there. Right? I don't want to turn it over. Turn it over for me. So they now turn it over to reveal the card. 6 of hearts. Changed. I say you now got 2 cards in your mind. You've got the 6 of hearts, and you've got the 10 of clubs. If they're the only 2 cards in your mind, they're the only 2 cards in my hands. There we go. And then if you open up the box, there's all the cards. Okay, so this was a really kind of I want to say poor performance of what I think is actually a great effect, but it's hard to demonstrate it in all its glory in this particular situation. But hopefully you can look past this and recognize the value that it possesses in real world live performance. So I call this switch trip, and this is something that is one of the first little kind of quick routines that I developed when I started. I had a residency, and it was quite a good training ground for developing quick visual material that just kind of ticks a lot of boxes in a short amount of time, because that's all you've got when you're at H table. It's quite a fast moving place, so you just got to do a quick trick, make people smile, off you go. So I had a few quick routines, and this was one of them that got developed. It's called the switch trick, and yeah, it's just a very commercial effect. So it starts off with a double peak. Okay, our first moment of magic is going to be a double revelation. Okay, vocally naming two cards that I shouldn't know. So the way I peek these cards, we dribble. I then push this to my fingertips and I display it. So I say to the first spectator, "You remember this card?" And I'm just looking at this one here. So you remember this one, right? So I'm literally looking at it, 3 of clubs. And then as this hand comes down, this hand comes up, and usually I've got spectator A here, spectator B there. So I've also got this kind of, body cover, because I'm shifting my body from here to here. That motion is going to help, in conjunction with my hands going up and down, blur what's going to happen now, which is that as I turn and this hand comes down, I'm actually going to let that turn over. So this is just a one-handed turnover, but we display it halfway through that journey. So have a look at this card, you have a look at this card, and in that moment I actually allowed that card to continue its revolution, so it's now face up. And I do the same thing. You remember this one? I'm literally just looking at it. So that's how I get a double peek. So I say, go ahead, remember this card for me, and can you remember this one? Perfect. So now it's 4 of spades and it's 6 of diamonds. Now, in addition, we've actually reversed the first card, and we've got the second card on top, above it, sorry. So now I go into this sort of gag, I suppose. I say, whatever card you're thinking of, don't tell me. I'm not allowed to know what they are, okay? Just keep them in your own mind, but don't forget them. Say them again and again, all right? Visualize them. Just don't tell me, but in your own head, just, 6 of diamonds, whatever they were, 6 of diamonds, 4 of spades. So it gets a good laugh. Now, I remember years and years ago, I was at a convention and I did this for some magicians. And I remember, yeah, the general response was that, well, theoretically, you've already named the cards, so therefore it's going to cease to be impactful when you find them, because they know that you know what they are. Now, fair enough if you want to argue that, but personally, I think that laymen are kind of the director of our material, right? They educate us on what is entertaining and what is fooling and what is enjoyable. And sometimes that goes against what magicians think, right? And you have to, I think, unless your audience are magicians, you have to be willing to make exceptions to what magicians' opinions are, and be led by what audiences actually enjoy. And this for me was was kind of a stepping stone to that lesson in itself, but also to realizing that no, I'm going to keep this in, because they will enjoy that moment. Why would I lose a moment of entertainment because magicians think that theoretically it's conflicting, So I just say that because there might be people here that also think, well, theoretically, and I'm sorry, but in live performance, this moment is worth keeping in because it gets a good laugh. And when people laugh, it releases endorphins, it encourages a sense of optimism. They're more excited about what they're going to witness next. They're more engaged, they're invested. And so we want to make people laugh. We want to, I believe, preserve this moment, keep this moment in there. So I do. So I say this gag, they laugh, and you get a kind of range of responses. Sometimes people take a little longer to realise what's happened there than others. But either way, you say, now what I'll try and do is find the cards. So the first one we'll go through, we'll turn it over, we'll place it back in. Again, it's a bit pantomime, it's a bit silly, but I think it's time and place, isn't it? It's like, I wouldn't go on stage and do this effect, but if you're just in a bar, people have had a few drinks, they're just out for a good time, they see something silly, it makes them laugh, they're happy, plus on the back of naming the cards, and you've already kind of got them in that sort of fun place, right? It's a bit like a comedian. If they have a good opening joke, then it kind of sets a good tone for the rest of the act, right? If they can get you at ease, you're going to be more receptive to the rest of the gags. And so similarly, that gag of naming the cards out loud, that is, I guess, almost like an icebreaker you could think of. And so when you then do this thing, it kind of just plays well, right? It's come off the back of that gag, and so it plays well. So I say, invisibly, I'm going to take out the card. Can you see it? You can see it, right? Can't you? And so you can sometimes isolate people, so you can see it, and that's obviously good for establishing rapport. And honestly, the amount of mileage I've got out of this little routine, it's a very good opening routine. So we turn over the card, place it back in, and if this has worked, there should now be one card reversed. There it is. That was your card. Put your hand out for me. And while they're doing that, I do a cap switch. So it looks like I just turn over the card. In reality, I'm placing the 4 of spades on top of it. So I turn over the card, but I'm adding the 4 of spades in its place. So if I leave that 4 of spades face up, you can see that this is happening. So just to try and give you a close-up, that gets turned over, this comes down, my thumb goes on top, and I pull the spread away. And obviously, because it's face down, it's kind of camouflaged, right? You don't see it, all right? But it's switched, and it's particularly hidden because you're in an offbeat, and 2, you're already misdirecting them because you're saying put your hand out. So was that your card 6 times? There we go. In fact, put your hand out for me. Okay, I want you to hold on to that. So it's a completely unseen moment. You've now switched the first selection for the second selection. Just imagine that's in their hand. That leaves the first selection there, and I need it on top. So as I reassemble the pack, I'll either do a spread pass or I'll just cut it. But either way, you want it on top. So now, I say the second card. We'll do the same thing. We'll take it out, and in fact, instead of putting it back in, we'll throw it. In fact, I'll boomerang it. Watch, I'll just boomerang it behind my back. It flies, and I catch it. Did you see that? It's amazing. I'll let you see it with a visible card in a moment. But here we go. We'll throw it. It flies, and it lands there. It's now the card in your hand. Take a look. So they now turn over the card to reveal that it's transformed. Meanwhile, that buys me loads of time to just literally hold on to that top card and just put the rest of the pack into my back pocket. Okay, and I couldn't quite do that here because I'm sat down. I literally just left it out of frame. It was the easiest deck vanish I've ever done. But normally, if I'm standing, I'll take a step back. That goes in my back pocket, and then I kind of regrip this as if it was a whole deck. Then I get the card back, and now we get into the kicker. So you've got 2 cards in your mind. You've got 4 spades and what was it? 6 of diamonds. Don't do that, by the way. That was just for this. If you've only got 2 cards in your mind, then I've only got 2 cards in my hand. So I do this big slap down, and then I'm just left with 2 cards. The rest of the pack has vanished, leaving us with 2 cards. And it's a very good, strong kicker, and particularly for walk around. Well, it leaves you with no cards. You say, I've got to go now. I've got to go get another pack of cards. But lovely to meet you. If I get another pack, I'll come back soon and show you another trick. I'll see you in a bit. Bye. And so it gives you a kind of beautiful sort of opportunity to leave because you've got no more cards. So in a walk around environment, this one routine just offers you know, so many good moments. It allows you to kind of reassure the audience that you're a magician worth watching. It allows you to kind of establish trust with them, to build rapport, to make them laugh, and to, you know, excite their interest into you coming back. So yeah, it's a great little routine that whenever I was doing gigs, and you know, you're in that kind of walk around situation where you've just got a few minutes with each group, I would always open with this effect. So that's the switch trick. Now, one other thing to add with this, I performed this at times where I've needed to employ a deck switch, because what I'll do is I'll just have the pack that I need to switch in the box, which is just casually on the side of the table, okay, which it would be. And then I basically kind of get a bonus phase where I say, look inside the box, and there's the cards. And so it's as if the pack has vanished and transposed into the box. They obviously believe it's the same pack, but methodologically, we've now switched in whatever deck we need ready for our next effect. So yeah, that's just an extra kind of tidbit. You can kind of capitalize off this for a deck switch, which is quite cheeky. Are there any questions on this? If there are, I'll take them now. If not, we'll move on. Okay, I guess we'll move on. All right, well, yeah, I don't know if anyone's like joining late or what's being said in the comments. That's kind of, I mean, I'm sort of in this quite blind, but hopefully there are still people here and you're enjoying it.
That's what I was
mostly-
going to say. I was going to say, I know
yeah.
you're sitting here quiet with all of us muted, but I'm laughing along with you. I'm sure everybody else is, but I'm sure it's just weird for you that we're just quietly all just sitting here watching you, but I'm enjoying it. I'm just letting you know.
Oh, that's so sweet.
In
Thank you very
chat,
much.
it's a couple of suggestions and a lot of adulation.
Okay, brilliant. Yeah, whatever I when I get this off this later, I'll is this chat something that's kind of just local to this stream, or is it on the server and I can go in later and respond to anything? Okay, yeah, well, yeah, if anyone had a question but didn't want to say it here, just leave it in that chat and I'll go back to it at some point and fill in any blanks. But yeah, let's get into a couple more things. So, see, I'm doing for power. Okay. So this is just a fun thing. Yeah. Okay. So I always feel like when I demonstrate this, magicians are going to be like, really, really? But I promise you, this I get away with this a lot. This is quite a bold thing. So it looks like this. I'm going to dribble the cards, and I'm going to get someone to say stop. Now, in this context, I will be the spectator. I'll just say stop on behalf of someone else, but obviously this would be someone else. So the cards have been shuffled. I'll look away, and then, madam, would you just call out stop for me? Stop right there. So look, remember this one? You got it? And we'll leave it in there. You take the cards. I don't want to touch them. You shuffle them up. And I know it's the 3 of spades. So again, cards are shuffled. I'll look away. Just call out stop right now. Remember this one? But we'll just leave it back in there. You take the cards, shuffle them up. I know it's the ace of diamonds. So I call this the nothing force. And the reason it's called the nothing force is you do nothing. You're holding the pack face up. You know what the bottom card is. You don't flash that to the audience. Okay, you're the only person aware of that card. You're then turning yourself kind of side on to the audience, and you look away, and you dribble. Now, it almost looks like you're dribbling the cards face down. It's kind of like an optical illusion. It looks like the cards are face down because they're only seeing the backs, but in reality, they're actually face up. So wherever they call out stop, what we're going to do now is this bottom packet, we're going to regrip it and display it to them. We're going to turn it around to them. Then we regrip it again. We turn these over and we continue. So it creates this kind of copaesthetic image that that card truly came from the center, but we've actually secretly shifted the packets around. So let's say it's 4 of spades. I look away, pull that stop right here, have a look. Okay, and we'll leave it back inside. You shuffle everything up, and then off you go. So it's one of those things that once you see, you can't unsee. It's kind of, it becomes obvious. But I use this a lot, and I get a little bit giddy when I get away with it because I can't believe that I have. It's surprisingly deceptive. I actually don't believe I've ever been caught out on it. Again, it's not like a lengthy procedure. Deal some cards down. Now have a look at this card. It's a very quick procedure, and so almost in a way, there's less consideration that there's anything funny going on because there's no kind of sort of protocol around it. It's very just random. It's literally just call out stop. Great, check it out, put it in, you shuffle. There's that kind of that pacing to it that just almost throws any sort of intent of secrecy out the window. There's something very just kind of straight about it that helps to mask the methodology. So yeah, super simple way of forcing a card. And again, try it out. Like I promise you, it works. When I first conceived of this, I filmed it just sort of privately, the forward-facing camera, and I was like, yeah, that looks kind of deceptive. I don't think I could get away with that. And I remember just like, as we sort of do, irritating my partner for the 10,000th time. Can I show you this? Can I try this? And I got away with it, and I was like, yes, it worked. So there's some things until you try them out, you doubt whether that they'll work. And this was one of them. I was really unsure, but it does. So that's the nothing force. This is another tool. This is something that typically benefits from performing to someone who's kind of looking down, like if you're stood opposite someone, so they've got a bit more of an aerial view. This is going to obviously be a bit more side on, but it looks like this. They call out stop. You say Queen of Clubs. Are you happy with that card? Yeah? Okay, so let's just toss it straight back inside. We got it on top. So this is called the station double. It's my way of kind of doing a center double. It's a double lift. So they call out stop. You got the Queen of Diamonds here. It goes in, and you've got it. So what is going on here? Well, it's actually the top card is going to be aligned with whatever card they stop on. So let's say they stop here, the 9 of clubs. I'll say the 9 of clubs, are you happy with this card? So as I'm asking that question, and when you're physically with someone, your eyes are at them, so they look at you, and that gives you some misdirection. Meanwhile, what's kind of happening peripherally to them is you bring this packet back, your thumb kind of juts this card out, you're then holding on to just the top card, and you bring that up, you align it, and you just allow these two cards to align and just kind of strip away from that packet and be turned over as a double, and that sets you up for obviously a color change or a control, or a reveal. I've sometimes controlled their cards at the top, and then I'll say, I'm going to estimate where your card is. The 6 of hearts, is that it? Oh, I let go. The 5 of spades, is that your card? No? Okay, keep your eye on it. We can change it just like that. And just a spin, we can change it back. So, whatever. It sets you up for a double lift. But again, one more time on the mechanics. You say 5 of spades, you're happy with that card? Gives you a little bit of misdirection. You then push this card out. You keep a grip of that top card. Kind of comes up. I'm now just holding the edges together, and I just let these two cards slip away from that packet and align, keeping a break here, and you're done. So yeah, it's just a kind of quick way of doing a double lift that, if you wish, gives you that advantage of incorporating that top card, which is quite nice. So yeah, that's called the station double. What else have we got here? Yeah, try this. So this is just a little production idea. So let's say we've got the 9 of clubs as the selection. Okay, so we'll lose it in, we'll shuffle it in, and what I then say is, do you want me to find this card in one hand or two hands? And usually they'll say one hand. If they say two, I'll say one's way more impressive, but it's your choice. And usually at that point they'll then change to one. I say, great, left hand or right hand? If they say left hand, I do the oh, it's escaped my, what is it? The hot shot cut, right? I do this thing to produce it. If they say right hand, I'll say, okay, any time limit on that? You know, what would amaze you? And they might be like 10 seconds. It's like, oh, that's pretty fair. Like, I want you to be amazed. And they'll make maybe 5 seconds. Really? That would be amazing. We can go better than that, surely. 3 seconds? What about 1? In 1 second, I'll try and find the card that you're just thinking of. It's lost somewhere in this pack. In one hand, my right hand, all of which was chosen by you. That'd be pretty good, right? So obviously the kind of framing of this is building suspense, right? We're kind of excited to see what's going to happen. So I've got to find your card in one hand, my right hand in 1 second. That would be one hell of an effect, right? Okay, you still remember it? Okay, here we go. Ready? 1. There we go. And that's the 9 of clubs. So let me do that again. 1. And that's the production. Equally, it can be more than 1 second, right? There's different ways that this can play. You know, it might be 3 seconds. You say, here we go, 1, 2, 3. And was this your card? Yeah, perfect. So anyway, there's a couple of extra branches to this. But firstly, as I've just demonstrated it, this is what I call the gunslinger production, because there's this kind of, you know, bringing the gun out. So what's going on to achieve this is your thumb, this is the grip, right? So my thumb is just kind of free to maneuver around. And what it does is it kind of curls underneath, so it's now touching that bottom card. And it's going to push down towards my fingertips. And in doing that, it creates, kind of buckles the card. And inside that buckle, I'm then going to place my index finger, like so. Then my middle finger comes around, and then I'm just pinching it together, and then it extends. So first of all, you want to create this buckle with your thumb, index finger, middle finger, and then you just push out. Okay, so that's what happens. And again, it's camera angle is not very complimentary here, but from a slightly kind of looking down view, it's a bit more effective, I feel, sort of aesthetically. So, you know, I kind of like that, it just pops out like this. So it's just a, you know, it's just a quick production. But you know, what really sells this, and I guess it's a testament to presentation, is just the framing of it. It's just getting people excited for this moment, you know, and the fact that they get to choose which hand and the time limit and all of these kind of variables. You know, it's kind of this garden path. They kind of think, well, where's this going? You know, they're kind of becoming increasingly invested. And so then in a second, when you produce this card, you know, all this tension that's been built up just gets released, on top of the fact that it is the right card. And so, you know, it just creates, for laymen, non-magicians, right? I can't stress how different these people are. It just really works. So yeah, that's called Gunslinger. Now, what's really nice about this, and what kind of doubled up from this, is the realization that you can use this procedure to create a thumb break. So from here, instead of kind of going into the production, if you actually just do this and then relax, you've now got a thumb break. So this is really good for a tip over control where they call out stop. You know, you can say, remember that the king of diamonds, let's just leave it inside the middle, like so. And now we've got it on top. So as they're looking at their card, I now create a thumb break. And then as I turn it over, I'm going to drop this on top. So I've got a break here, and that gets dropped on top. So 3 of hearts, you know, let's just leave it in there and inside here. So it's nicely lost in the center. Watch carefully as it rises. Oops. As it rises up. Oop, it didn't, to the top. There we go, remedied. Yeah, so just a nice little kind of bonus application for that one. So that is, yeah, the gunslinger thing. What else have I got to share with you? Okay. So is there anyone that could turn their camera on and has a pack of cards? If not, we'll just kind of gloss past this effect. But I've got a trick, and I can't really demonstrate it without
I got
someone
you.
involved.
Can you see me?
Oh, I see you. Yeah. Okay. Great. So, I tell you what. Are you just holding the cards?
Just here. I
Okay.
can't. You probably maybe if I stood up, you can see them in normal position.
Oh no, that's fine. Do you have a table in front of you? Are you able to tilt your camera and we can see the cards in front of you? Yeah. That's perfect. Yeah. So it's just there's a little bit of space that you could put the cards down on that we can see.
There.
That would be cool. That would be cool.
And just flip this keyboard out of the way.
All good. All good. So I'll tell you what. Yeah, just put the cards down in front of you. Okay, cut them in half, and then that bottom packet, just pick it up. Kind of turn it to the side a little bit and just place it on top of that other. Yeah, I just want to mark exactly where you cut. So we're going to come back to this position in a moment. And of course, the question in your mind and everyone else's who's watching right now is, you know, or particularly for you, to personalize this to you, you're thinking, what's your name? Sorry.
David.
David. So David, you're thinking, you know, how is he going to tell me what my card is, right?
Sure.
How does he know what my card is? Well, interestingly enough, there's an Instagram account that is called What My Card Is, at What My Card Is. Now, do you have a phone to hand?
Yes.
Okay. And do you have Instagram?
Yeah.
Perfect. So,
Okay.
David, I'd like you to go on to load up Instagram, go to the kind of search navigation, and search for the handle What My Card Is.
Okay.
What
Search.
My Card Is. And when you're there, just click on that account, and it's be kind of
Card is.
Yeah, it should
Got
pop up, and it's interesting what you'll find there. You can see you're looking at this now, right?
Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it? Let's let the viewers see as well. Just turn the phone around so everyone can see this. It's a real account. You can all verify this. It displays a big picture of the 9 of spades. Now, the internet is the greatest source of all information, David. It never lies, right? It knows all. And so if this has worked, the position that you cut to should be the 9 of spades. In answer to the question, what my card is, should be the 9 of spades. So that top packet, just lift it up, turn it round for me. Did we get it? Turn it round.
Oh.
The bottom card of that. Yeah. There we go. 9 of spades.
That's very nice. I like that.
Thank you, David. I'll let you turn all of this off now. But thank you for getting involved. I really appreciate that. That was pretty integral to the demonstration of this effect. So this effect is called Instagram, and essentially all you have to do is force any one of the spades. Now,
That was
I got a
insane.
little bit lucky in that performance because I just happened to glimpse that his bottom card was the 9 of spades. The pack went out of shot for about 20 seconds, and I was just crossing my fingers that he didn't cut the pack or shuffle the pack or anything like that. And I got lucky he didn't. Otherwise, it would have been a lot of build-up for a very anticlimactic result. But how does this work? Well, I have made 13 Instagram accounts, which each display one of the spades. Okay, I have 13 accounts to cover all of the spades. And so all I have to do is force one of the spades. Now, obviously, you know, me and David are in different countries, so the approach that I went to here wasn't my typical approach. I normally will have different manners for forcing this in a cleaner way, you know, a more fooling way. But the bottom line is, all you got to do is force one of the spades, and then you're going to segue your patter to one of the handles. So the handles, printed this out earlier, are these. I don't know if you can screenshot this or exactly the best way to relay this information to you. If anyone's interested, just send me a DM. But yeah, the key information here is that I have 13 different handles, which when searched take you to the respective selection. So all you got to do is force one of the spades, and then depending on which card it is, you know which of the handles it is. And I didn't mention, I have on the box, I have a crib. So my box is just like chilling on the table. And then, you know, all I got to do is pick it up, perhaps to put the cards in the box or whatever, and then I can just see what the handle is. Some of these, because I've done this quite a lot now, there's certain cards that are already in my memory, but I don't have the best memory, and I wouldn't want to rely on not having a crib, so it's worth having a crib anyway. And of course, that doesn't have to be on the box if you don't want it to be. You can again have it on the back of your phone. You can have it in your lap. You can wherever you need it to be. But essentially, you've got somewhere that you can sneakily access the information, and then depending on the account, you just alter your patter. So you know, 7 of spades is reveal my card. So I would say, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, how is he going to reveal my card? Well, it's interesting. Did you know reveal my card is an Instagram account? Bow, 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 and off it goes. And so, yeah, basically each handle can be, you know, conversationally introduced into the script. And then that gives you the motivation, the justification to request them to search it up. And obviously it all goes full circle as you saw in the performance. So that is an effect called Instagram. It's a nice routine. You know, who doesn't have Instagram these days? If you're in a group of people, there will pretty much certainly always. I've never had an instance where I haven't been able to finish the effect because someone didn't have it. You know, so it's a pretty safe effect to do, and also, you know, you might there's obviously other social media effects out there, so you know, it could be a segue into that, or it might be a nice kind of stepping stone to getting someone to following your account, or you know, if you're gigging, and you know, also if you want to search David Magician, that way you can follow my gigs or book me or whatever. You know, if that's something that you try to include in your performances. So yeah, that one's called Instagram, and I feel like that might be a nice one to end this on, because we've gone kind of over the hour now, and it's almost midnight here in the UK, and I need to go to bed pretty soon. So I think I'm going to just leave it there. But I'll stick around for a little longer in case there's any questions on anything that I've demonstrated tonight. If there's any questions on the material or just magic in general, I'll stick around to answer any. So yeah, just
I do have a
shout out.
question about something that isn't the material for tonight.
Okay.
A while back, you did Fiber Friday about finding named four of a kind in the deck, and I didn't even know you did that thing then. So I was wondering if there was any way I could learn that. Is that available anywhere?
I can, if you send me a DM and we'll talk there.
Okay.
I can send you a link.
Okay.
I don't have any more
Any,
questions. I was just going to say thanks again. That's been a great watch, and I'll probably rewatch it later. So I was just saying thanks.
That's exactly.
Oh,
what
thank
I
you
was
so
gonna
much.
say. I don't have any questions, but we really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. And I know Mex is here, or I think he is. He's down there somewhere. But yeah, absolutely great time, great effects. I know it didn't set sail like we had planned, but we made it. So
Yeah, we got through it. No, I've really enjoyed it. It's been fun. And yeah, if there's anyone here and this is the first time that you've kind of seen my work and you're interested in discovering more, then my main sort of hub for sharing performances, all my material is on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel. I upload a video every week, every Friday. It's always a card trick, and it's stuff that I, use pretty regularly. It's all kind of commercial card stuff. So yeah, if you want to discover more of my work, that's the best place for it. I've also got my own server. It's pretty small, but yeah, we chat about magic in there sometimes as well. I don't really know how you even go about following other servers, but just so you know. And then that's it. I only have at the moment just a YouTube channel and a Discord. So that's all the places you can find me. But yeah, I love card magic. I'd love to come back in the future and do another one of these. And yeah, thanks so much to Mex and everyone who sort of facilitated tonight's event. So yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I'll wrap it up here. But thanks for having me. And if you ever have any questions on anything you've seen, just send me a DM. I'll get back as soon as I can. And yeah, until next time.
Thank
See you
you.
soon.
thanks again, Ollie.
Thanks. Cheers, guys. Have a good night.
Could
Bye.
anyone who's in that Discord drop an invite link in the chat just to make it easy?